Anna Delvey, welcome to Mea Culpa podcast. Honored to have you here with us. You know, the hour goes by incredibly fast. We have a lot to talk about. You know, since my scenario first started approximately 6 years ago, I must have had at least 24 documentarians, film producers reach out to me wanting to tell my story. They wanted to take my first book, Disloyal, smash it with my second book, Revenge, and then create a scenario. I've turned them all down because I never thought anybody would be able to tell the story the way I would want the story told. You have been the subject of more than one documentary. One that was I think a Netflix miniseries. Is that miniseries, were you involved in that? And was that miniseries accurate as it related to you and your life?
Hi, Michael. Thanks for having me. Well, I still have not watched the Inventing Anna, the series. I mean, I know the gist of it. Obviously, I saw the clips, but when it came out, I was in jail, so there was no way for me to watch it. And when I got out, I just kind of lost interest in it. And but officially, I was a consultant. And the way the series was structured is it was being told from the point of the journalist. So the only way they communicated with me was through Jessica Pressler, because the series was structured, through her point of view. So what happened was she would send me either a list of questions, or she would come over, or we would jump on a call while I was incarcerated, and I would answer her questions. I'm not sure how much of it they used or to which extent. And I know before every episode they say whatever is not true is fake, something like that. So it's not
what they do, they put out there that some of it is added for sensationalistic purpose, right? And you know that there are reports that it's not the same. I want, if possible, I want you to tell your story. You know, because by the way, Inventing Anna was great. It was great film and so on. What it doesn't end up really doing is it doesn't acknowledge that there's a human being on the other side of that camera. It was basically, let's build, and we're going to get into that, let's build Anna Delvey up. Let's put her up on this massive pedestal. And then let's knock her off the pedestal so that we can watch her go splat. I mean, that's like reality television, right? I want to hear from you. Tell your story. When did you come here? How did this all happen? What was the scenario that led to the obvious incarceration? I've been there myself. And where you're at now. You know, give us the abridged version.
Sure. Yes. I came to New York, I think around 2013, but I never really lived here. I was traveling back and forth, and I came up with the idea to do like a art foundation. But you can't really make money with art foundation. So this like whole other things like hotel and restaurant and a private members club came on top of it as a way to monetize the project, and it kind of snowballed. And the original idea was that I wanted to purchase a building, and I wanted to get investors, and they would all like own a part of this real estate property. But then this rental property came along, the 281 Park Avenue South. It was for rent only, so I had to change the whole business plan. It was great for our purposes because I knew we would easily get the permits, like liquor permits. It was great location. It was almost ready to go because I did not want to spend the next 10 years of my life renovating some building on Lower East Side. So and then kind of the whole thing snowballed. And then I ended up getting charged with grand larceny and an attempted grand larceny. And I spent 3 years, 4 months in prison between Rikers and New York State prison. And because I have a German passport, I had issues with immigration, and I'm still dealing that to this day. Therefore, the ankle bracelet, and I was on house arrest until August of last year. My restrictions have been lifted. I was also forbidden from using social media by the judge as part of my release conditions for no real reason, really. And yeah, but all of that is lifted for now. And yeah,
Are you
I live.
concerned? Are you concerned at all, being that you're not a U.S. citizen and that you have a charge against you that under the new Trump administration with Tom Harmon, that they are actively seeking individuals, and you're obviously a big name. Is it
Yeah,
possible that they can have you have you leave the country?
I mean, of course, that was like always a concern of mine, but I don't know. Hopefully, I have great lawyers, John Sandwick from Nixon Peabody. So
Sure.
uh, yeah, I'm like never not concerned about it, like regardless of the administration.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand your point. I want to ask you this though, because I know a lot of the people in that social circle that you developed, very tough social circle. I do have to say, you have exquisite taste, because the building that you were going to rent on Park Avenue South, in my estimation, I think it is the most beautiful exterior. It's the most beautiful building I think ever built in New York City. I mean, I think it's one of the most beautiful that I've ever seen. It's like straight out of Europe. Would have been a great location and a great idea, because now, as you know, there are new clubs that open up almost on a daily basis, and these are very high-powered individuals and very significant international names. So you were kind of really ahead of the curve.
Yay! Thank you. Yeah, it was a really beautiful location. I don't know. The company that ended up getting the lease was Fotografiska, which is like a Swedish photography museum, and they ended up
Hmm.
doing something very similar to my idea, which kind of goes to show that it wasn't just whatever scam, as they say. Was not planning to just steal somebody's money. It was a viable project because somebody else ended up doing something very similar. I know they just ended their lease and they moved out, so I'm not sure what's going to happen to the building. I don't know.
Yeah, that's an AB baby property. So let me ask you this again, because I know a lot of the people that you were working with and dealing with. Very tough group of individuals, but you somehow managed to convince the elite of New York that you were a socialite. Would you have considered yourself to be a socialite, or did that sort of morph because people wanted you to be a socialite?
Yeah, I don't think like none of this was the case while the story was going on. I was just trying to work on this project. There was nobody was asking me. None of my social friends would ever ask me, "Oh, how much money do you have?" I don't think just nobody just does that, right? It's like not an appropriate question to ask. Nobody's like, "Oh, hey, I'm Anna. I have $60 million, by the way." Like that's just not how a conversation goes. I think the story was created, I think, foremost by the prosecution after everything happened, because they were trying to like frame me as this awful, yeah, criminal, like conniving and calculated. And yeah, I don't know. I just did not see how me being a socialite would be of any relevance to any of these guys, really.
Well, there is there's a comparison where you're dealing with, like, many of the people that you were dealing with who come from very wealthy families. You're right, nobody ever asks you, hey, how much you got, how much money, unless you're dealing with the bank. Then that's all they ask you. But
Yeah.
most people know who these children are because they know who the parents are. The parents are very well documented, significant, either financiers, real estate owners, developers, and so on. Did it ever come a point in time that somebody turned around and said to you, where is this funding coming from? Or, are you a socialite? Because the way that the show portrays it, and again, it's why I really wanted your take on it, because obviously, and I agree with you, at the beginning of the show, they turn around and they say that there are parts that are fictionalized for purposes of of the film, of the making of this docuseries. Did there ever come a point in time that you talked about being a socialite and so on? And by the way, not all socialites are exceptionally wealthy, right? In fact, it's just really who you run with, who's in your social circle that makes you into a socialite.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Like, there's just not a word that you use in self-reference, really. Like, you never introduce, like, I don't know anyone who's like, oh, I'm XYZ and I'm a socialite. Like,
Oh, I
never.
do. Oh, I do. I know
I guess,
plenty. In fact, I'll tell you the funniest thing is there's somebody who I know, female, and she actually has it on her Instagram, socialite and social media influencer. That's how she refers to herself.
yeah, I don't know. That would not be me. I think that's something like that's being said about you, but like not being used in self-reference. Yeah.
So, when you were dealing with all of these individuals, what do you think made them drop their guard? Because again, you're talking about some of the most ruthless and powerful New Yorkers that you could ever not want to meet. What do you think made them drop their guard when it came to you? Do you think it was your charm, your looks, your confidence, being a young female? What do you think it was? Maybe something else?
I think like maybe back in the day, everyone kind of like respected the girl boss. It was like the girl boss era, maybe. Like it would have been a bad look for somebody to discriminate against young female, maybe. I don't know. I think it's changed now. But also kind of like nobody really gave me anything. They're like, okay, well, show us the money and we'll do this. But like until then, like they entertained me, but only until a certain point. Because when you like talk to food and beverage people and like the ones who would be running the art component, like of course they're gonna give you the estimations and projections, but nothing can really like go ahead until you have the building. So I wouldn't say
Right.
like I went this far. Um, and I think it's standard practice for somebody to just submit a proposal because obviously you're not going to commit yourself to like 10 to 15-year lease if the project is not feasible. So I think like everything that went through was pretty standard. And I guess it wasn't like a genius idea. I'm not the one to come up with the idea of like an art and private art club. But I think, I don't know, maybe it was like the right place, the right time. Yeah.
See, when I was thinking about that question to ask you, I really had as an example Adam Newman, the founder of WeWork, in mind. I mean, Adam Newman had no money. Adam Newman managed to, based upon his charm and his confidence and the way that he sort of treated people, he managed to create a aura about him that not
Yeah.
just was he impervious, I never understood the idea. It didn't make any sense to me because I just didn't see where the real money could be made if you have these short-term leases on floors or whole buildings. What happens when you sell out? What
Yeah.
happens then? Do you think that the owner of the building is going to accept a 3% raise in the rent? They're going to double it and triple it. You don't like it? Go someplace else. The problem is you have hundreds of people that are planning on coming into X location, but you're not there. So again, it's sort of like I'm just trying to figure out. Like I think Adam Newman managed to pull the wool over some of the most significant people on Wall Street, in the banking industry. I was just trying to, while I was watching the Netflix story on you, I just was trying to figure out how you managed to get them all to drop their guard for that period of time.
Yeah. I mean, like in the end, they did not give me anything. So, I mean, they were entertaining me. They liked the project because I guess, I don't know. I think when you're younger, you're sort of fearless and you're just like, you have no reservations approaching people with your ideas because what's the worst thing that can happen? It's like you're young, you're kind of a nobody. All the worst thing they can say is no or just ignore you. And it's actually like a kind of a good position to operate from. Like I'm not the same now because obviously like like people either love me or hate me. It's like much more difficult now. I think like I'm way more
Oh, by the
cautious.
way, I know that feeling. I have
Yeah.
50% of the country, maybe a little more, that love me, and then the others hate me as well.
Yeah.
Some
And you never know which one, like who is who, right?
right.
And it's kind of like tricky to like throw your name around, right?
It is. I mean, what are you finding? Are you finding that people are intrigued by you when they find out that you're Anna Delvey, or do
Uh,
they run to the hills?
no, I think no one has ever said anything bad to me to my face, not on the
Wow,
streets of
you're
New York.
lucky.
Yeah. I get recognized all the time, but it's mostly like younger people, like girls, gays. It's like they love me. I don't know. I did not have access to my social media until August of last year, and but now kind of like looking at the comments, I'm like, oh my gosh, hopefully this person is not like making my coffee.
Right.
Yeah,
You can say that again. I will never walk into a store and order a coffee there. I don't know what's going to happen. Some of them,
yeah,
they want to give you the coffee for nothing. The other one wants to make it as hot as
yeah.
possible and throw it at you. Right? Now, let me ask you this. You said you never took any money from anybody, but you actually, well, at least again, according to the Netflix series, you convinced major banks and investors to believe in the Anna Delvey Foundation. Funny, when I was watching it, I was like, that sounds interesting to me. I liked the project. And again, in the building that you're talking about, you're right, with that photography scenario that went on there, that museum of photography, it's almost identical to the foundation that you were setting up. So I liked the idea, but I'm really just trying to figure out, how were you able to convince banks, investors to believe in your foundation? Was it based off of spreadsheets, or was it a business plan? What was the way that you operated?
I think the first thing, yeah, I had a great location. That's why I was so
Mhm.
like anxious to hold on to it because I knew the people who approved of the project. It was contingent on me getting the building because nobody wants to be involved in a project where it was going to take, I don't know, 5 to 10 years to get the permits, to get anything done because New York is tricky. Like if you don't have just to build something is just insanely like it takes so much time. And yeah, I don't know, they just created like a proposed business plan. So I've been introduced to people who would be in charge of food and beverage component, maybe like a hotel and like the whole concept with the art and the private club, and we just like came up with a business plan, and that's what I sent to the banks.
And it's funny because I'm surprised that when you were going through your criminal trial, that they didn't bring up the scenario. The private clubs in Manhattan today are making a fortune, literally a fortune, and you're not talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars to be a member, like at some of the, we'll call it, golf social clubs and so on. It's all based upon volume and who's where and who's doing what. When your car breaks down, you take it to a mechanic with no hesitation. You need it, and it's not something most guys can fix themselves. I know I can't. And men should think the exact same way about ED. But the reality is, you might be hesitant to seek help. Thankfully, through HIMS, you can get access to personalized ED treatment without stepping outside the door. HIMS is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your own couch. HIMS provides access to a range of doctor trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints and Viagra and Cialis and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. You hear that? 95% cheaper. And the process, it's 100% online, so that there's no need for uncomfortable doctor visits. Just answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option for you. And if prescribed, your medication ships directly to you for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. And with hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, HIMS can help you find the ED option that works best for you. So start your free online visit today at hims.com/Cohen. That's HIMS.com/Cohen for your personalized ED treatment options. Again, that's hims.com/Cohen. And the product mentioned are chewable compound products which are not approved by or verified by safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. The concept makes perfect sense. And not because I'm sitting here and talking to you, but because I'm a member of one of these clubs,
Yeah.
and I see the numbers, and I know for a fact that they've managed to pull out about 70% more than was invested. And they invested like over $80 million into the project. They've already taken that money out and they've already put money in their pocket. And they're only in business a couple of years now. So, like I said, this is not some far-fetched fakakta idea of building a hotel on the moon, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a real, which brings me to really the question, there's an old saying, fake it till you make it. But in your case, there actually really was a plan to make it, to really
Yeah.
do this thing. This wasn't some sort of, pump and dump type of a scheme, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, and like as we can see now, what they've done to this is like it's very similar to what I've done, and it's completely feasible. But yeah, I don't know. It's like just it's all. I think I blame the whole story really on the Manhattan DA's office, and like they labeled me the whatever the fake heiress, and I'm still like dealing with the consequences of that title, and it seems like it's never going to go away. And they just like created this outrageous story, and then they involved like Rachel Williams because they needed a human face, because they knew like probably not that many people will care about me, whatever, quote unquote, defrauding the banks, and they needed like an actual, yeah, human face of the tragedy they created.
Right.
And
And because, the way that even that the Netflix show portrays you is something more that it was the thrill of the deception that
yeah.
created the game. And I
Mhm.
suspect that you probably don't agree with that, right? It was not the thrill of deception.
I mean, I don't think like I don't want to live that way. I think like ideally you just like get things done without having to like lie to anybody. Just like
Right.
it's a waste of time. It's an added stress. I don't know. At that point, I thought that was the only way because I was kind of like I was younger. I thought if I don't go through with that project, everyone like all these guys are going to think like, oh, she's full of shit, and we're never going to work with her again. So I didn't really see a scenario like that. Didn't get that building, and I thought like these people are going to drop me because they think I'm just dragging my feet. I cannot get anything done, and they're just going to move on. And I thought I had a really good team, and it's not like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't want to like just go through people,
Right.
like because they all it's kind of like a small world, and they all talk to each other. So just like I didn't want to start from zero. So that's why getting that building was so important to me because like kind of everything hinged on yeah, me getting the property.
Well, especially based upon the owner of the property gives you immediate credibility because he's extremely, extremely
Yeah.
discerning in terms of who he rents to. At that time when you were involved in this, I mean, he was so phenomenally wealthy that he would rather keep the building vacant than to do business with somebody who he didn't deem to be trustworthy. That's kind of like the blue check mark right next to your Twitter account, where it validates exactly who you are. Now it's funny because you and I actually have a mutual friend in Billy McFarland from Fire Festival. And I was with Billy in Otisville, which is how we became friendly. Billy, as I would sit and talk with him, would tell me kind of a very similar story, which is I didn't take anybody's money to take their money.
Yeah.
Rather, I wanted to put on the greatest festival of all time. And I bring Billy up. It's not even one of the questions that I was preparing for. As I was watching television this morning, I saw a commercial for he's going to try to redo Fire Festival 2, right?
Are you
And
going to?
now they're no, I wouldn't have gone to one, though I think my daughter had tickets, to the Fire Festival one. She's more around, your age. Those sort of things aren't for me. But I bring that up more to the point. Would you ever try to recreate the Anna Delvey Foundation? You think that that's a possibility? What are you doing with yourself these days?
I don't think I'd be interested to like recreate this. I think it was a fun project for me to do at that age. I don't know. I just want to move on with my life, and I think like the world does not need another private members club. I just want to do something bigger and more important. I don't want to hold on to the past. I don't know. Like I'd be open to like come in as a consultant, but I don't know. I just don't think like I have any significant value to offer to a project like this because I don't have any like experience in hospitality or food and beverage. People who are more qualified to do this. I guess like my only value would be just kind of like the media exposure, like the shock value, or I don't know. That's not
And
really
what
what
are
I'm
you
trying.
what are you doing these days to keep yourself busy?
Well, I just moved to a new apartment like a week ago, so I'm like my immediate day to day. I'm like unpacking and trying to move in. Also, we are starting a media company with Kelly Catrone.
Uh-huh.
Um, that's going to be really exciting, and I'm working on my own brand.
So tell us
Yeah.
about it. I mean, we have, I don't know, so far I think we have over 400 million downloads. So we have a pretty nice audience. Tell us what's up with Anna.
So Kelly Catrone and we are working on My Fake Talk Show, which is going to be like a talk show style, like a show. We're still working out the format as well as we're going to produce a couple other shows, like mainly like focused around fashion and art. And for my own brand, I'm still like working out the logistics. Cannot really release any details yet because who knows what's going to come out of it, but I'm excited. I think that fixed series positioned me like it's this person who's obsessed with fashion, and I think my whole background was always in fashion. Like I interned for a fashion PR company in Berlin, for Purple magazine in Paris, and that's just where I feel like most comfortable. And let's see how that's gonna go.
I'm sure. I'm
So I
sure you'll
guess
do it. Hey, let me ask you this though. During this whole ordeal, when you were meeting with, again, some of the biggest hotshots in all of New York, the social circles, was there ever a moment that you sat down and you said to yourself, holy shit, I could actually pull this off? This could actually happen? Because again, the way the television show shows it, that you were really
yeah.
close.
I mean, like I never started this project with a thought that I might fail. So it's like, of course, I was in my head. I think that's like a benefit of being younger, and it's like it comes with being more delusional. I know, like, know more about life. um, then you're just more fearless, and it's like, what's the reason for me, like, not to succeed in this? So like it was not a surprise to me. It's not like, oh, I'm a total fraud, nobody's going to believe me. I thought it was a great project. That's the reason I chose to work on it. Like I could have done anything, like technically. And
So
I
there
thought
was
that
never
was.
so there was never a point. There was never a point, Anna, where you turn around and said to yourself, I think I've gone too far, that, I need to pull back what I'm doing. I need to pull back because this could become problematic legally. See, like for me, I'm going to use myself as the example. When I was asked by Trump to change the outcome of the CNBC poll, I mean, I knew I was going too far on it.
Mhm.
I didn't think it was a big shit. I mean, who cared? It's a fucking poll. Who cares, right? I mean, if he's number 9 or number 250, why would it make a difference? It's not going to change anything. It's not like people say, oh my God, Donald is number 9 on the poll. We should vote for him for the presidency. But I knew I was going too far. I didn't care because of my affection for him. as not just my boss, but as a friend. Um,
Mm.
you ever have a moment like that?
Um, So my thinking was always, I think if anyone, like I understood that I was doing might have not been completely ethical, but I did not really see any other way out. And the second thing, I thought if any prosecutor were to look into it, and this is just coming from like my 20, like 4, 25, 26-year-old perspective, and I was not as closely acquainted with criminal justice system the way I am now. So I thought if anyone were to look into it, they would see it's not like I was getting money for myself. Like even if I were to get this $30 million loan, I always knew it was never just going to be wired to my account overnight. It's like everything would go like, I don't know, as a letter of deposit, like security deposit to the building, and like every work, like any work that will be done on a building, like the construction workers would invoice the bank and it would get paid directly. So I would never really get any money. And I thought that's what made it acceptable because it's not just me committing fraud and trying to put money in my own pocket. So, and I thought like I did not have any reason to defraud anyone because why would I just try to like rent this huge building in the middle of Manhattan? And like, what would I do? I have a German passport. Whole Europe is extraditable. It's like, where would I could possibly go? Like it just
Right.
did not seem like massive. It's not like I was stealing billions and billions where like if I were to pull this off, I'd be set for life. So it's like it didn't seem like I thought like if any reasonable person were to look into this, they would understand I was actually trying to make something legit. And there was yeah. Like it was
Understood.
nice back now.
Because again, like I use that as a comparison to the president, to President Trump. You both created an image and
Hmm.
you convince people to buy into it, right? Now, some people would say Trump's running for the presidency was probably not a great move for him. That was, of course, a while ago when he had the multiple indictments against him and then the ultimate convictions. But do you think that if you actually came to the table and that you did come from the family, like a Trump family with significant wealth? Trump was born with a platinum spoon in his mouth, not even silver. Do you think that if you were on the same, that things would have been different? Instead of turning around and trying to label you as a scammer, they would just label you as a socialite billionaires?
Yeah, I don't know. I try like not to think about what ifs. It's like it is what it is. I'm trying to
Right.
like work with the cards I've been dealt with. It's like this could have went so many different ways. I don't know, but like just the victim mindset is just so toxic. I could like sit at home and cry all day and like, why
Sure.
is this happening to me? And I don't know, like if I was an American, I would never spend additional like 18 months in jail for no reason. I would not have like an ankle bracelet now where everyone thinks like I'm a criminal. And the only reason I'm wearing this is because of immigration. So, but like that's not just the way to go through life. It's like nobody cares about your problems.
Right. When does the ankle monitor come off?
I don't know. So it's hard to say because it's not like some kind of a sentence. It's just I'm in immigration proceedings and I don't know.
Wow.
I
Wow.
don't know what to say.
So let me ask you a
And,
question. While you were creating this image and you were building this concept, what do you think is more important? Would you say it was your confidence? Was it your ability to tell a story? Or do you think it was just you have a gift of knowing how to read your audience, which is something that Trump does incredibly well? Trump, and again, and people say, oh my God, Michael, you're bending the knee. No, I'm not. I'm stating a fact. Trump could
Mhm.
read a room like nobody I have ever seen. I consider myself to be good, but he's fucking spectacular at it. He could read a
Yeah,
room without even knowing most of the people in there. You do you see it the same way? Is it confidence, storytelling, or knowing your audience?
I don't know. It's hard like to answer those questions about myself. I think that would be a better question for the people who like were involved in me at the time. I don't know. I thought it just made sense to me. I don't know. Like that's what I think they wanted, and I was trying to give it to them, and like what they wanted made sense. So I don't know. And I guess this just were like the type of people they just wanted to be part of something like cool and artsy and yeah, I don't know, maybe.
You think that the rich and the powerful individuals that you were speaking to, you think that they're just as gullible as everyone else? Or do you think that maybe it's like their arrogance that makes them easier to manipulate?
I don't know. I think like my project made total sense. Like in this scenario, like assuming I had the money. So I would never go as far as to say like I tricked anybody into believing anything because like we could only proceed if I were to get the building. So I don't know. I don't see myself like
Right,
as a trickster in chief or like I whatever misrepresented myself. Like everything made sense if I were to get the building and get the
right.
financing. So
I
I
mean,
don't.
that makes perfect sense to me. But again, while I was watching, because again, the Netflix series that did
Yeah.
this on you, as I was sitting and watching, I was sitting with my wife and we were having a conversation. And I said, something, I know this is going to sound off the wall, but I wonder if Anna was a man, not a young woman. You think that she would have been treated differently? And I wasn't sure that I could say yes or no. What's your take?
I think nobody, like people would have cared less about the story if I were a man. I think, yeah. I don't know. It's really hard to like think in hypotheticals, you know? Like I don't get a choice to be a man or
Right.
not. Yeah. I
Well,
mean, kind
listen,
of.
today you can if you really want to. Everything is possible today, right? I mean, because
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. I mean, you take people who have what they refer to as the pathology of influence, right?
Mhm.
Take for example Elizabeth Holmes, right? They did a nice little story on her too. You have Bernie Madoff. You have Trump as it relates to convincing 77 million Americans, 77, that he's one of them. We're talking about some of the poorest people in our country, that they and Donald Trump are the same, which
Yeah.
I just find to be the greatest storytell of all time.
Well, I think
What do you think
like
separates what they did?
like Trump is very similar to Martha Stewart in the way that like getting arrested and indicted was one of the best things that could have happened to them in terms of relatability to the general public. And I mean, what a great comeback! Like on
Tell
both
me, no,
sides.
no, no, don't stop there. Tell me more. So, we're a month already into the new year, and things are really stressful. Family, the job, maybe life. Maybe you're in search of something to help you take charge of your life. But most importantly, you need to do it with full mental clarity. Embrace this February and embrace CBD with Via to experience the powerful benefits of hemp without the high. Trusted by over 500,000 happy customers, Via is the Swiss Army knife of wellness, dedicated to harnessing the natural benefits of hemp to create high quality wellness products. Via's collection of THC-free products, it combines minor cannabinoids like CBD, CBG, and CBN with botanical supplements for targeted effects that you can actually feel. So whether you're looking to improve your sleep, your focus, or relief, Via has something for you. Now, I've tried the THC-free gummies for sleep, and let me tell you, anyone who knows me knows that I've had sleep issues my entire life. I mean, getting up at 4 a.m., these 4 a.m. wake-ups, they just don't cut it when you're my age. I mean, for God's sakes, where has this product been my entire life? Via is also well known for their award-winning THC free gummies, vapes, THCA flower, soothing topicals, and calming drops, all of which are crafted with the highest quality hemp sourced from trusted, independently owned American farms. And the best part, Via legally ships to nearly all states in the US in discreet packaging directly to your door with a worry-free guarantee. And get a load of this, no medical card required. So let me share some points about Via. First, they're an industry leader with over 500,000 customers served. Another, they're made in the USA, farmed and crafted with care in the United States. And their award-winning service experience their top-notch customer support. They also give you only quality ingredients that are sourced from the finest hemp for your peace of mind. Plus, they're also lab tested and certified. And lastly, affordable, and they're accessible. Their premium products will fit your budget. So if you're 21 plus, check out the link to Via in our description and use code Cohen, that's COHEN, to receive 15% off. And if you're new to Via, you'll get a free gift of your choice. And after the purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. So please help to support our show and tell them that we sent you. This year, enhance you every day with Via. I've met Martha Stewart several times.
Yeah.
She would beg to differ. She did not enjoy the experience at all. I can assure you, I certainly didn't enjoy it. 51 days of solitary confinement will mess with anybody's head. You know, Billy did some heavy solitary confinement as well. You know, it's not a good thing, and it's used as tools of punishment and so on. But continue with that thought, because I'm intrigued now.
Yeah, I mean, I did not enjoy solitary either. I was in solitary at Rikers and Albion and all sorts of places. I don't know. It just things like just the relevance. I think it just makes you very relatable to the general public because so many people, like I think America is a country with one of the highest incarceration numbers. So there's
Mm-hmm.
so many people who had some kind of run-in with the law at some point and have been arrested for one thing or another. Um, and I don't know, it just like made them completely relatable. And I think it's not what happens to you, is how you come back from it. I don't know. Like, I don't know where Martha Stewart would have been now had she not been arrested. You know, it just gave her this cachet and like this cool factor. Now she's like hanging out with Snoop Dogg and she's doing all these things. And she's like an older white lady. Like, what would she be doing instead? Like, it was awful in the moment, but in the longer term, like, and you cannot predict that. It's really hard. Like when it's happening to you, just awful and devastating, and all you can
Mm-hmm.
do is just like hoping you're gonna get through it in some way. And
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
it seemed Trump. I think like when he was getting indicted and arrested left and right, like I'm sure it was not great. And yeah, but just like the sheer perseverance. I mean, say whatever you want, but it's like kind of admirable because so many people would just like have given up and said like, whatever, I'm done. And it's hard to deal with scrutiny and just getting bashed from all sides, from the media, on social media, from the people. I don't know.
Well,
I
let
think
me
it's
ask you
like,
this then. How has prison changed your view of the world? You think that it did it humble you? Did it make you smarter? Did it make you stronger?
so one valuable thing that it taught me is like how to get along with anyone because I grew up a single child. I have a little brother, but he's almost 13 years younger than me. So, like, I kind of grew up by myself. And I was never forced to be with anyone. Like, I could always just go to my room and, like, not talk to anyone. And I just like a skill. Like when you're in prison, you cannot just say, I don't like you, I don't want to see you anymore. Like you are going to be with this person until like one of you moves or gets released. Yeah. And yeah, or like when you, I don't know, when you go to court, you're like in a bus or you sit in a cell for 8 hours with this person that you have nothing in common, but like there's nothing. There are no phones, there are no tablets, all people do are talk to each other. So yeah, it just was like I think for me it was a valuable skill to develop. I can talk to anyone about anything. Doesn't matter how little in common we have, because you can just be like, I'm not interested in you, and just stare at the wall. That's just not how it happens.
So true, so true. So, final question for you, Anna, because I'm totally intrigued by you, the story, and so on. People still want to hear from you. They still want to watch you. You feel like you're still running from this scenario, from this allegation of being a con, so to speak? Or is there a way that you have mapped out how to be the storyteller of your own story, your own image?
The way I try to think of it is like it's up to me to show people what I'm going to do next, not for me to sit and complain. It's like, oh, the media is so mean, people are so mean, they call me a criminal, they call me this. It's like, it is what it is. People are just kind of reflecting or parroting back what they see out there. And I don't know, like hopefully I'll manage to do something that's bigger than the story that's been created about me. And yeah, it's like all about how you use the attention. There have been so many people who like managed to turn something negative into something positive, and I think that's kind of what the trick is. And
Yeah.
yeah, I would never want to be the victim. I mean, they say it's like you always want to be the criminal, not the victim.
Right. Right. I mean, it's the story of redemption, so to
Yeah,
speak, right? And I'm certain that you have some pretty big ideas coming up, because you're really a big idea thinker. And I just
yeah,
want to thank you for joining me and my listeners on Mea Culpa. Again, I'm shocked that you didn't watch the story about you, especially fortunate. You were very, very fortunate that they had you participate in the story itself, because so many, I can't tell you when I was there the number of there were books that were written specifically, the whole book was written about me, and people would send me books every single day. Thanks to them, I must have read almost 100 books in my 13 months there. I was fortunate. COVID got me out, but I read
yeah,
97 books while I was there, and I would get sometimes 2 or 3 of the same books. I had my photo on the front, the whole bit, the fixer, yada, and I would be signing them and giving them away to the correctional officers and stuff like that. That book is that book is fraught with inaccuracies, like
hmm
the entire story again of me going to Prague, or having a dacha in the same area next door to Vladimir Putin in Sochi. That my father-in-law is the biggest real estate developer in Moscow. My father-in-law's never been to Moscow. I mean, he's Ukrainian, not Soviet. He's not Russian. He was Soviet. He was from the Ukraine. He's never been to Russia. There's so many lies. Oh, I took a kayak and I kayaked from the East River here in New York to Prague. That's how I was able to get in to the country. The level of stupidity is boundless, but I'm certain that you have some very big ideas coming up. And, I'm certain you're going to make them successful,
yeah.
because, again,
Well, the
your
book has been
story
written
hasn't been written yet.
by my former whatever friend. So it's called My Friend Anna. So that's like a book full of lies too. And
I
actually, interestingly, she's the one suing Netflix for defamation, and I was a witness. So yeah, that's the story is still ongoing.
Yep. And you write your own story. And I thank you so much for joining me on Mea Culpa. Wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna. Good to see you.